The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's broadcast. We will wait about 2 more minutes for additional attendees to arrive. Good morning and good afternoon, friends and partners. Welcome to the 7th ICLE webinar on Cities and Regions Talanoa Dialogue toward COP24 in Katowice, taking place today, Wednesday, 11th of November at 1600 Central European Time. My name is Cale Roberts, Program Officer with the ICLE USA office, and will serve as your moderator for today's webinar. But on behalf of all ICLE offices, I extend my welcome to all of you. Before we get started, a quick technical intro. First, you are automatically muted, and we ask you to remain so until the end of all presentations. However, we do have a feature on the webinar control panel which allows you to type in questions. So during any time, go ahead and submit a question. Lastly, in order to ensure the transparency and openness of these processes, a recording of this webinar will be shared with all participants and be uploaded to the ICLE Global YouTube channel for sharing around. Okay, with that, now to introduce today's webinar panelist, Mr. Yunus Arakan. Yunus serves as Head of Global Policy and Advocacy at ICLE World Secretariat. Yunus is also the local governments and municipal authorities focal point to the UNFCCC. Yunus, over to you.
Thanks, Cale. Thank you very much for your support in moderating today's sessions. As my colleague mentioned, today we will be trying to share with all colleagues and partners the latest updates for the preparations of the 24th Conference of Parties of the UN Climate Change Convention that will be held in Katowice, Poland on 2nd to 14th of December. Today's agenda, we will have a recap of the Paris Agreement, where we are more or less in the Paris Agreement work program package, and our key expectations as ICLE from the forthcoming COP. We will have a basic discussion on Cities and Regions Talanoa dialogues, and we will spend most of our time in the agenda of our COP24. We will wrap up with a list of upcoming events, especially in 2019, that can give us the idea of what to expect beyond Katowice in December. Let's recall why are we so much engaged in the Paris Agreement as cities and regions, because there is a particular emphasis on engaging local and regional governments. The most relevant one is that the preamble paragraph of the Paris Agreement recognizes the importance of engagement of all levels of government. This was the case that has not been before in the UN Climate Convention or Kyoto Protocol. And in fact, this is a huge achievement based on more than 3 decades of our advocacy, but also the way we have engaged in the ADP, the technical negotiations towards Paris Summit in 2015, but also the 2014 UN Climate Summit. All these initiatives have all paved us the way forward in this achievement. In addition to this multi-level governance approach, there is specific paragraphs in the Paris Agreement which refers to local and subnational actors, especially subnational governments, including local and regional governments, on adaptation, capacity building, and loss and damage. As you may remember, the Paris Agreement is supported by a lengthy decision, which is shaping the frame of the implementation of the agreement, which is also containing a number of references on technical sessions, and in particular the references to non-party stakeholders. This all gives us the justification that we should be more and more actively involved in a number of areas in the Paris Agreement. We also know Paris Agreement was signed by heads of state or entered into force, but a lot of work has to be done, and this was the work over the past 3 years now. It is now announced as the Paris Agreement Work Program, and in order to operationalize the Paris Agreement, this document has to be agreed in Katowice. That is the main goal, because this will help the national governments to be more transparent in their implementation of their NDCs and also bring clarity on the way forward. And as you can see, in line with the Paris Agreement vision, we have as been referred as a significant stakeholder in a number of texts, especially on NDCs preparations, sustainable development mechanisms, adaptation, technology framework, and transparency. How much of these references will stay in the final text, we don't know yet, and that is one of the things we will follow up over the next couple of weeks and during the COP as well. And this will be the core of the negotiation agenda of the COP24. We all know every host of the conference, of the UN climate conferences, they have also their own unique priorities, and that is the nature of the process. This year it is hosted by Poland. This is the 3rd time Poland is hosting a climate conference. In the past, they have hosted in Poznan in 2008 and in Warsaw in 2019. And sorry, in 2013. This is the 3rd time Katowice, Poland is hosting, but it is the 1st time in Katowice as the city is hosting this. Over the past couple of days and weeks, presidency have announced priorities. What we are tracking so far, they would like to have specific outcomes on 3 main themes. One is just transition, one is e-mobility, and the other one is forest. In terms of just transition, there is a plan that we are hearing that on the 3rd of December there may be or there will be a session with where we will see heads of state gathering in Katowice. This will be a special day because whenever you have a heads of state in any conference, of course, both security and logistical and technical arrangement of the sessions are different than any other cases. As of today, we don't know how many or which heads of states are attending. Therefore, we should be alerted for updates from the presidency or UN Secretariat. There are plans that we heard that there may be a declaration. Just transition is mainly trying to emphasize the linkage between the transition to a low carbon economy, but securing the workforce and the relations with those in the sectors who have been engaged in the carbon intensive, let's say, technologies or policies where they will be slightly losing their work and how to maintain a just transition to this community, how to make sure these societies, these companies, these cities are not damaged from this transition. There are different approaches, of course, but this is a very priority topic for the Polish presidency in the sense that this is also being convened in a city and region which is very dependent on fossil fuels. which will be a remarkable, of course, case. If you can remember, a year ago in Germany, the COP was also hosted in the North Rhine-Westphalia, the region where it is very famous for coal and coal reserves, and it is still an important issue because transitioning to fossil fuel free era is also having a number of challenges for every country in the world, and Germany is also experiencing similar things. So I think this would be a very attractive session, but we will see what outcomes will come up. Other than that, e-mobility, electric mobility, some call it, is an initiative that presidency is spending a significant effort. A draft text of this initiative or this concept was shared 3 weeks ago during the pre-COP in Krakow. There is a keen interest to see engagement or endorsement of local and regional governments and their networks. There will be several consultations. Tomorrow there will be another meeting. Some of the delegations are attending to a meeting with the ambassador and special envoy from Polish presidency. We would see how much this will evolve and how we can support. We should be recalling that this is the first time a document is produced that is a particular emphasis on transport, which has been also a community or a sector that has been ignored for a long while. So in that sense, we believe it's a welcoming effort, but we will see the details and how much we can be engaged in that. Forest is another area. Just before that, the expectation is that this e-mobility process can be an outcome of the Marrakesh partnership sessions in the first week, probably on the 4th or the other days. We'll see more updates to come soon. Forest is also another important area. Poland is well known for its forests and preservation efforts. So this may also be, there are rumors that there will be an expectation that in the second week in the ministerial sessions, there may be certain specific announcements coming up on that track. We haven't seen any draft of it yet, but maybe more to come soon. Under these conditions, from ICLEI perspective, we believe there would be three main expectations. One, clarity. Clarity, of course, the Paris Agreement work program. It is true. Any action, if we want to scale up action, there should be rules, there should be governance of this process, there should be transparency of actions at home and transparency of supporting developing countries, including finance packages, as well as how we will connect all these pre-2020 efforts. And most of those things are covered under the Marrakesh Partnership, but we also know Marrakesh Partnership has a lifespan until 2020. Therefore, starting from Katowice, we believe and we hope we could get more clarity on how the Marrakesh Partnership engaging action agenda can be fed into the long-term implementation of the Paris Agreement work program. We need leadership. We expect leadership, in particular, knowing that the nationally determined contributions are the first rounds only, and this has to be reviewed and renewed, and already the current ones are weak, and there will be an expectation that the heads of states or ministers should commit already in Katowice that they are ready to raise their ambitions, they are ready to submit their second NDCs, which much more powerful implementation and commitment commitments. In particular, now that there is already a report from the IPCC Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, which has produced a special report on 1.5-degree goal. This is offering an enormous potential of action or policy approaches, and we hope the countries, especially those who want to push the agenda higher, would build on this 1.5-degree report so that they can plan their NDCs along these lines. And the third one is the collaboration. Throughout the year, we have seen an enormous mobilization. We have seen an enormous engagement of all actors and all levels of government through the Talanoa spirit. We really hope this should continue. We really hope this will be the basis for an aggressive and ambitious action. We hope this collaboration and this Talanoa spirit could bring all the partnerships that has been built over the years, which engages different stakeholders but different levels of government, into the NDCs, and these also can connect to the UN summit to be held in 2019, so that just before the NDCs in 2020, we are confidently relying on our political leaders and national governments that they reflect the dynamism of the real economy turning into a low carbon transition, low carbon civilization that is reflected into the NDCs. So these three are our most overarching expectations from COP24. I would like to spend a couple of time for the Talanoa dialogues. This was the moment or the year of Talanoa. Talanoa was a Pacific spirit. It was a decision in Bonn at the COP that this engagement of stakeholders should not be just a one-off event in Poland, but it was spread throughout the year with an opportunity that any city or any region can contribute in this process. And with this vision, we said that this Talanoa dialogue is an opportunity to fix and lift the NDCs and to make them fit for Paris Agreement. The logic is that NDCs were prepared before Paris Agreement, and it was prepared in a short time frame, and therefore it does not fully reflect the spirit of the Paris Agreement. Therefore, they have to be revised. All of them have to be reviewed. And the key things we are hoping to get on board is that when this review is taking place, the national governments take benefit of sustainable urban development, connect the urban action to the climate action. And the second point is that they engage all levels of government. We have been over the year, this year, we have been starting this process in February, and we are proud that local and regional governments and their networks through the constituency of local governments and municipal authorities and with their partners worldwide had made an enormous response, positive response, and they mobilized all their existing resources, and they have demonstrated an unprecedented buy-in to this concept. And this shows that the more national governments and the global climate process opens the door for cities and regions, the more engagement and contribution can be received from this level of government. In a summary, we have noticed that we have been engaged in 60 events in 40 countries. Out of this, a significant amount of them were driven directly by cities, regions, and their networks. It was in 52 sessions in 37 countries, and most of them were in the global south. That was also a unique signal that developing countries are also very engaging with that spirit. We have been engaged in 100% of all these sessions, that all levels of government were engaged. We had seen a number of and a significant amount of sessions that are an opportunity to bring other stakeholders like women, youth, indigenous people to the climate debate, to the Talanoa dialogue, through cities and regions. We have seen Africa shining up in this process with convening 8 national sessions, which was also a very unprecedented success. And there were very good examples from Austria, India, Japan, Norway, Portugal, Tanzania, and Indonesia, who have engaged as a co-partner of these sessions of local and regional governments. And in 3 countries, South Africa, Finland, and Republic of Korea, local and regional governments were invited as a core stakeholder to participate in the national Talanoas. These were all giving us the opportunity that multi-level climate action is real, it is paying off, and it is providing an enormous potential and opportunity. Yes, this was the year round. We had presented our submission, the summary, the key conclusions of the Talanoa dialogue to the UNFCCC Secretariat, and we, as ICLE, who have been facilitating this process, are in touch with all the hosts so that we prepare a more communication products, key highlights, so that the messages are reaching to the national government as well. But it's important to note that in Katowice there will be additional sessions. It was not easy. There was not a huge certain clarity on that, but all these months there was a very positive, let's say, consistency and perseverance from all parties that in COP we should continue the spirit. We are very happy that the host country and the UNFCCC Secretariat have also agreed with that, so that the COP will start with a session in the middle of the week, to wrap up, and the main discussions will take place on the 11th and 12th of December, in particular on the 11th of December. In total, there will be 20 roundtables, and in these roundtables, there will be stakeholders from all actors, and we hope there will be a number of local and regional government representatives attending these sessions as well. There are some invitations already. The constituency, the members and partners in the local government and municipal authorities constituency are now preparing their proposals, and we hope to see a number of local and regional leaders in these sessions. Another key agenda in Marrakesh is, in Katowice is the Marrakesh Partnership. This is the action agenda that started from Lima and continued to Paris and Marrakesh, and in Bonn as well. So if you remember, in Bonn, there was an enormous number of mobilization. This year, due to the logistical restrictions, there is a relatively a less number of events, but the idea is that the outputs are equally important. You can see that it will start with a high-level event where the yearbook will be released as well, and then specific thematic discussions will particularly take place on Friday and Saturday. One of them is human settlements. These sessions are 3-hour sessions, so let's be realistic on how many people can be engaged, but there is certain partners involved. ICLE is coordinating this secretariat of this process together with Energy for SD, and an enormous number of partners are engaged. There will be also expectations to have local and regional governments in other thematic sessions, as well as roundtables on Monday and Tuesday, focusing from resilience to finance or selected sustainable development goals like consumption, production, on land use as well. So the calendar is out, and we are checking the number of speakers in each sessions. This slide is, I can imagine this is not too easy to follow, but it is compilation of the engagement opportunities we as local and regional governments have at the COP as of today. Let's remember this is a 2-week session. It starts from Sunday to the other Sunday on the 9th. We are assuming that there will be 4 main streams of engagement opportunities. The first one is UNFCCC negotiations, as we have mentioned. We will deliver some statements, opportunities of engagement, some specific bodies. We will be engaged in the events of the presidency and the Marrakesh Partnership, which you have seen the slides before. And there will be specific side events hosted by the partners of the local governments and municipal authorities constituency in different pavilions. Those who may remember, in Bonn, we had a specific cities and regions pavilion. This year we don't have it, but there is a numerous number of country pavilions. As far as I know, we have EU, China, India, Indonesia, Germany, Nordic countries, who have Japan, who have all opened their pavilions for engagement of local and regional governments. This is not the final list. There will be more to come, but this is giving you the let's say the snapshot. According to this intensity, we are expecting most of those events will be held around the second end of the first week, and in particular on the 10th and 11th. These are all in the UNFCCC zone, which is accreditation limited place, where you can only be entering into these events either as speakers or panelists if you have accreditation badges. And in that sense, we recommend all our partners to be in touch with their either national governments or their networks, so that they have a clarity on how to access. And then finally, as a typical COP, there are outside events. This year, the number of outside events are less than in previous years. Let's recall one of the main reasons for this less number of engagement is not necessarily limited to the logistics. We are hearing that the venue of the COP is particularly good in terms of size and capacity, but the hotel accommodation in the city of Katowice is a bit challenging and limited, and the nearest city is Krakow, which is 1 hour distance, and there will be shuttles, but it is a concern for some participants. Therefore, participation and the number of events are relatively less in COP24. But we know, especially on Saturday and Friday, Saturday and Monday and Tuesday, there will be a number of events, and we would like to announce that the city of Katowice is preparing to host a session on Monday evening, which will be the culmination of our delegations. This will be the first day of the summit, the first day of the second week. It is the day before the Talanoa dialogues. It is the night before the Talanoa dialogues. In that sense, it is an excellent opportunity to wrap up our inputs and to celebrate our year-round engagement in the Talanoa dialogues. We have been in touch with the city of Katowice. There is a tendency to announce this as a Katowice climate shift, because this is in fact taking place in an industrial museum, and terminology of shift is used in industrial processes, but we also would like to make an analogy that we're shifting to a transition to a Paris era, and through multi-level climate action, we would guarantee the delivery of Paris Agreement. More details to come up on that, but please note this in your calendars. The last slide is that after COP, there will be, of course, life going on. This is not the end of everything. In major milestones, first of all, we have a 2019 UN Climate Summit in September in New York. Throughout the year, there will be certain preparations. The UN Environment Assembly and UN Habitat Governing Council will convene in March and April, respectively. In Heidelberg in Germany, there will be an international conference on climate action and cities. In June, UNFCCC conference will be held in Bonn, but at the same time, in the second week, there will be Resident Cities Congress 10th session this year, but there will also be a specific event that brings together the cities IPCC follow-up on the UNFCCC process. Throughout the year, we hope that there will be a number of opportunities so that we can keep the momentum of Talanoa spirit. One of the core partners for us is the NDC partnership. We would like to check, but we would also like to connect to the initiatives towards UN Climate Summit. The global network C40 and UCLG will have their own global world congresses in 2019. This will be also an opportunity for us to raise our momentum and make announcements and strengthen our collaboration. And the year will conclude with COP25. Just before the presidential elections, the Latin American group have proposed Brazil. According to the procedures, this nomination will be decided in Katowice in COP24, but there are of course certain challenges, because there is a new national federal government in presidency in Brazil, where there had been rumors that the climate policies may not be the most priorities, but we will see, because these are all rumors as of today. But this is the most official announcement that at least proposals on the table, and Brazil is expected to host the next COP until further notice. With this last slide, I'd like to encourage all of our colleagues and partners to visit and to share links from their websites to citiesandregions.org/COP24 to be connected to the latest agendas and updates. And with that, I'd like to conclude my presentation so that we can have a Q&A session, or any clarity, any additional input, anything missing. Feel free to share your inputs either through chat box, as Kale mentioned, or you can also raise your hand and we can offer the speaking opportunity as well. And with this, I thank you a lot for your interest and participation. Kale?
Yes, thank you, Yunus, and thank you to all participants. I have not seen any questions come through on the chat box just yet. And so far, no hands raised. But feel free, anyone, to either raise your hand and I can unmute you, or I'll read your question from the chat box if you submit.
According to the audience of this session, we mainly have colleagues from European continent and European networks. obviously, because we are also having the COP in a soil of Europe, European Union, we are hoping there will be a significant amount of contribution from European partners. So it is really good to hear and see all of them engaged in this discussion here.
Thank you, Yunus, and thank you to Sandra, who submitted a thank you for the great overview and asked, could you please add to the Beyond COP24 agenda the R20 Austrian World Summit, which will take place on May 28th as part of the International Climate Action Movement and Talanoa Dialogue?
Thank you, Sandra. It was in our list, but there was a typo. That was a previous slide. Definitely, we should have added this, and thanks for the reminder. Definitely, our R20 Austrian World Summit will be a key event of the year. Over the past 2 years, that has been showing a huge opportunity to engage, and it is one of the unique really, I had the honor of attending the first one. It is one of the very few global events, a national event, which has all levels of government, the federation, the federal government, the federal government of Austria, the Chancellor of Austria, the previous one and the current one, and the local and regional governments were all part of this ambitious action. And of course, the leadership of Arnold Schwarzenegger was remarkable, and he was able to bring different colors of political spectrum to bring all of them on the commitment to act on climate regardless of their political backgrounds. I think this was a remarkable event, and definitely this will be another event in 2019. And thanks for the reminders, and sorry for the omission, Sandra. Maybe we can keep this slide just because we have some time. What I can also underline, if you like, I can go through the list a bit more in detail because that was a bit short, let's say, or speedy presentation from my side. Maybe I can go more in details of this sessions in terms of the events, of the side events especially, because we have shown the Marrakesh partnership as well as the other events, but we didn't go into much on the side events. According to what we know, in the first week we will have in the EU pavilion the event of the European Green Capitals, Climate Alliance. The Green Capitals are tentatively scheduled on the 4th of December, but there may be some changes. And this change of date is applying to all events because there are last-minute changes. We are all aware of it. Climate Alliance will have UNFCCC side event on the 5th of December. There will be a cities event in Indonesia Pavilion on the 6th of December. In China on the 7th of December, there will be a local action. UITP, Union of International Union of Public Transport Authorities, will have their own side event on the 7th of December. On the 7th and 8th, ICLE has suggested or submitted to NDC Partnership Pavilion an event that is like a time for multi-level action, which is 30-minute dialogues that we would like to use a different mode of engagement. We are waiting for final confirmation. On the Nordic Pavilion, at the Nordic Pavilion on the 7th, there will be an Urban Futures Day. International Climate Governance Coalition will have their side event at the EU Pavilion on the 8th of December. ICLE will host an event at the German Pavilion on 8th of December on just transition. And ecologic and nature-based solutions, with the number of partners, will host nature-based solutions side event at the EU Pavilion on the 8th of December, Saturday. And on the German Pavilion on the 8th of December, there will be an event on urban mobility presented by the Transport for Urban Mobility, led by the German Ministry of International Cooperation. During the first week on the Sunday, on the 9th, there will be a number of events, but during the week on the 6th of December at the City Hall of Katowice, there will be a transport day. On Sunday, NDC Partnership will have their own annual summit. Coalition for Urban Transitions will have their event. Development and Climate Days will take place on Saturday and Sunday, and Sustainable Innovation Forum will be held on Sunday and Monday. In terms of the second week, there will be peaking events on the 10th of December. In terms of the peak day is the 10th of December, Monday. It will be a full day of Global Covenant of Mayors at the EU Pavilion. Again, it will be possible if we can secure it at the NDC Pavilion, sessions on time for multi-level action. In Japan Pavilion, at the Japan Pavilion, there will be a circular economy event. At the UNFCCC, we have around 5 events. One UN, the UN and Habitat, ICLE and European Bank for Reconstruction and Development, C40 and International Council of Science and Science, Climate Kick and CDP will have their side events on the 10th of December, Monday. German Pavilion will have a special event on climate finance, urban climate finance. City of Bonn will have a special session there, and ICLE and German Association of Cities will also have a session on connection between SDGs and NDCs, in particular in terms of the tracking and contributions from the local governments in a quantified manner. At the German Pavilion, on the 11th, there will be event on resilience. Climate Kick will have a finance event at the EU Pavilion on the 11th, as well as ICLE will focus on urban resilience. Climate Chance will have, and CMR will have a side event on the 12th of the UNFCCC. At the Korea Pavilion on the 12th, there will be a discussion on non-industrial mitigation. Climate and Clean Air Coalition and NDCP Partnership will have their high-level events on the 12th. And Energy Forest D will have its own side event on the 13th, on the second week. During the week, outside the UNFCCC area, as we said, on Monday, we will have Katowice Climate Shift, hosted by City of Katowice at the Volkovnia on the December 10th, Monday, from 6:30 to 9:30. Low Emission Solutions Conference, which kicked off in 2016 in Marrakesh as a joint effort of WBCSD, ICLE, and SDSN, will have their dinner. This is an invitation-only event, and World Climate Summit will be having its event on 11th and 12th. And as we said, Sustainable Innovation Forum will be having its last day on the 10th, Monday. This is a general, more, let's say, thematic session. We are working on a day-by-day calendar, and I think we will be uploading soon, and we will be sharing soon with all our colleagues this information, because we're also receiving additional information as well. Yeah, this is an additional input from my side, just to make sure to make use of the time, but if there are any additional questions, happy to respond, or inputs.
Yes, Eunice. Suzanne would like to add an invitation to partners to an event on December 10th at 1900 hour for the Energizer. Perhaps you know more. Otherwise, a question here from Vera. Thank you for the presentation. Wondering about the selection of non-party stakeholders to participate in the Talanoa roundtables in Katowice, how these stakeholders are selected. Vera is aware of the note indicating that 2 stakeholders representatives will be present per table, but how will these representatives be chosen?
Mm-hmm. First of all, thanks, Susan, for the information about the City of Bonn event. I was mentioning about it, but I didn't want to give the concrete time before it is finalized. But definitely on the 10th of December at the German Pavilion, City of Bonn will invite all partners to celebrate Bonn as the seat of the UN and to provide positive contributions in the rest of the UN climate agendas. And we will be happy to collaborate with City of Bonn. Mayor of Bonn is the president of ICLE at the same time, so there will be a number of opportunities. Coming to the question of Vera, I'm now showing the same slide that she refers to This is, of course, under the authority of the presidencies. It used to be, of course, throughout the year by the Fijian presidency, but now it is in the hands of Polish government. And in fact, for the design, we are aware that both presidencies are collaborating for achieving a success of this session. In that sense, the design is that there will be 20 roundtables, each consisting of 13 participants. Out of these 13 participants, 2 seats are reserved for non-party stakeholders. If you multiply 2 by 21, this is 42. Out of this 42, presidencies have reached out to constituencies, the UN observer constituencies, which is 9 constituencies. As since 95, this is a definition that is coming from the Agenda 21. So local authorities is one of them. Local governments and municipal authorities constituency is one of those 9 constituencies. And out of this 12 seats, 1 seat is reserved for LGMA. And for this, we have already informed LGMA mailing list that we would be happy to receive candidates. They would like to ensure there is an appropriate expertise, representation, gender, regional balance. We hope to get these, let's say, nominations or suggestions, and depending on all these inputs, we will be communicating the final name to UNFCCC Secretariat on the 12th of November. Other than that, we also like to underline there is a climate action studio which has reserved 5 seats for LGMA members. We are also able to communicate these names. So the rest of these, out of this 40, and 12 is reserved for constituencies, which means now 28 or 30 seats are reserved for either UN intergovernmental agencies or other stakeholders or other representatives that presidencies may choose based on their own authority. Among them, out of this 30, there may also be 1 or 2 more local and regional leaders, but this is a decision by the presidency, and we don't have a control as the constituency, but we are of course in touch with the presidencies, and we hope there would be a pretty good number. This was one of the reasons why most of our events are on the 10th, so that we can effectively engage in the 11th. So this is how we wish to see the engagement. That's the moment information as of today we have. Kale?
I see a hand raised here for Kobe, so I will unmute you now, Kobe, and you can speak. Kobe, go ahead whenever you're ready.
Did we lose Kobe?
It looks to be the case. So I'll go ahead and remute. Kobe, raise your hand again if you would like to say anything.
Kobe is a director of ICLEI Africa Secretariat, and she's the director of the ICLEI Cities Biodiversity Center. In case she cannot connect, it may be possible that she may raise the connection between this biodiversity summit to be held in Egypt in the next 2 weeks. There is a special emphasis to connect the biodiversity agenda to climate and SDGs, and there will be a special Talanoa in the biodiversity focus during this biodiversity COP. Maybe she may try to highlight this if she cannot connect today, but we can also try to check whether there's any points that she wants to address. Yes, exactly, please. Thanks, Kobe. Yes, we didn't highlight it here, but definitely is in the agenda. It is listed as one of the Talanoas, one of the 53 sessions. This is particularly important because nature-based solutions is a growing subject, and biodiversity community, of course, is a core leader of raising the profile of nature-based solutions, biodiversity, and we hope the revised NDCs build upon this new tendency, the new way of action in terms of urban development and also sustainability. We are very excited because this is also one of the key topics of the 2019 UN Climate Summit. Therefore, we are positive. Outcome from Biodiversity COP will be providing positive inputs. We also have to recall biodiversity is the one of the very few intergovernmental processes which has a 10-year action plan for cities and subnationals. And since 2008, there has been regular cities and subnationals biodiversity summit in the premises of the COPs, which is also a unique atmosphere, thanks to the support of the Secretariat of the Convention on Biodiversity. And this has been also a good practice for us for a long time. So I'm reading from her questions, so that we hope that from the Biodiversity COP, there will be an opportunity to feed into the Climate COP, and all these feed into 2019 UN Summit. And in biodiversity era, the next COP is in 2020 in China. That also gives a more enormous opportunities in the year 2020, where we're hoping to have NDCs. China is also well known for its emphasis on harmonious development and harmony with nature. So there is a growing potential from all around the world, and particular countries who have a huge opportunity of forestry and diversity. We would hope that they would bring more of these assets to the climate debate and climate solutions. And of course, this summit of the cities and subnations are held in collaboration of ICLE and Energy Forestry, and they are the two networks of global networks who are flagging or are carrying the flag of local and regional governments in the process for so many years.
Thank you, Yunus, and to Kobe too. A question here from Clara. In the spirit of transparency of Talanoa and given the involvement of local and regional governments at COP24 site events is more limited than in former editions, which platforms and channels are available to keep the conversation open and ongoing leading up to and during COP24?
Well, this is a bit hard question because first of all, we recommend all colleagues to follow the websites of the UNFCCC. Maybe in addition to this slides before circulating to our partners, we add the links to host country websites, the UNFCCC official COP24 website, the website of City of Katowice, and Kobe mentioned about also the Biodiversity Summit, so that they can be searched. We also recommend you to track Earth Negotiation Bulletin. From Cities and Regions Talanoa Dialogues, we will provide daily updates. There will be daily meetings. There will be an enormous effort from the UNF Secretary to use social media. And we hope there will be several initiatives coming up towards or during COP to ensure that the spirit of Talanoa, especially the multi-level and integrated action, is a process that is not now anymore a luxury or an exception, but is becoming a mainstream, especially in countries where we hosted Talanoa dialogues worldwide. That could be a good demonstration that the more national governments engage with their local and regional governments, the more they can guarantee the success of their NDCs, and the more they can be confident that they can raise the ambition of their NDCs. I think that is the spirit. We fully agree, Clara, that there should be additional processes going on, but it is hard to make a full list as of today.
Thank you, Eunice. We still do have a few more minutes for additional questions, so please raise your hand or enter them.
I think we reached to a level of maturity in terms of the questions or inputs, let's say.
Sure. Well, with this, we can close today's webinar. I'd like to thank all participants and especially thank our panelists, Eunice, Arakan. Everyone, please watch your inboxes for the recording of this webinar that will be sent to you. Please forward on to your colleagues who could not join us today. And we'll look forward to speaking with all of you again soon. Thank you.
Thanks, Gail, for your moderation, and greetings to all our colleagues, and look forward to stay in touch. There was one discussion whether we will have another round of webinars, but please stay tuned for our announcements. It's not confirmed yet. Thank you. Bye-bye.